Hi everyone. Today we're going to be talking about Google Draw. Google Draw is a great introductory tool to the world of vector drawing with its very simplistic tools. To begin, let's talk about what a vector drawing is and why a vector drawing would be used. If you've ever seen a logo before, like some of these famous logos, you've seen an example of a vector drawing. Vector drawings are composed of lines rather than pixels, which we'll get to in just a minute. There are quite a few reasons why you or a company would want to use a vector drawing. The biggest reason is that a vector drawing will never get blurry no matter how big or small you make it. This is perfect for companies who need to put their logo on a massive billboard or on a small business card. Lots of artists also use vector graphics to create their art, such as Tom Whalen, Samuel Werksler, and Chris Levins. Even though vector graphics are often thought to be very simple, artists such as these guys show us that you can create intricate detail. The program we'll be showing you today, Google Draw, uses vectors, but really quickly I'm going to go over raster drawings as well. Raster drawings, which you may be more familiar with, use tiny, individually colored pixels. Although the artwork looks great in its original size, you won't be able to enlarge it or compress it without it becoming very blurry. In simple terms, when a raster drawing is enlarged or compressed, it leads to the loss of pixels in the image. Each pixel determines the color in that area, and when the image undergoes compression, it causes multiple pixels to combine into one larger pixel that is an approximation of all the colors combined. This inadvertently leads to a loss of information present in the image, and as a result, it looks muddy or blurry. Programs like Photoshop, Procreate, and Microsoft Paint all use pixels. Google Draw has a pretty limited toolscape, so getting the hang of it hopefully shouldn't take too long. We'll start with learning how to make basic shapes with the Line tool. Under the Format tab, you should see what looks like a line with two dots on either end. Go ahead and click the drop-down arrow and select Polyline. This tool is perfect for when you want to create a shape with straight edges and no curves. Your cursor should look like a little cross, and that means that you have got the right tool selected. Clicking anywhere on the page will create your first point. You'll want to drag the mouse to where you want your next point and click, creating a straight line. Repeat these steps until you've created the shape you want, and to close the shape, you'll need to click right back where you started your shape. If you've done it correctly, it should look something like this. But what if you want to create a shape that has curves? Well, luckily, there's the Curve tool. This one may take a little bit more practice to get the hang of, so you'll likely need to mess around with it a little bit on your own. To begin a line, you'll start by clicking the area on the screen where you want your line to initially start, and drag your mouse in the direction you want your line to go in. Your first line will look straight, but once you click a second time and drag, you'll notice the line is starting to curve. Based on where the mouse is located, you can control the degree of curvature. Each time you click, you'll be able to create a new segment to start a curve in a new direction. One thing you may notice is as you create new curves, your previous line may adjust a little in order to create a more smooth transition. Smaller segments will allow you to get a lot more detail. Just like with the Polyline tool, you'll need to bring the last 2 points together to close the shape, or you can leave it as a line. The last drawing tool I'll show you before we get into examples is the Scribble tool. Just click and hold down while moving the mouse in order to use this tool. You can create some crazy lines. Although it's not a drawing tool, you may also find the Shape tool helpful for creating pre-existing shapes, such as squares, circles, rhombuses, etc. You can create large areas of color gradients within these shapes that you make, and once you've placed a shape, you can control its size just by moving the mouse. It really is useful for creating some large open planes. There are a few more tools you can experiment on your own. These are going to be the most common ones you'll need to create your shapes. Now that I've talked about the main 3 drawing tools you need, let me show you an example with a picture. Let's say I want to make some vector art with the skateboard as my reference. I'll go ahead and use the photo tool here to insert my image. If I double click, I can even crop down my photo. I'm going to use the zoom tool on the left here to make my image a little bit bigger. Because this form does not have many straight edges, I'm going to go ahead and select the Curve tool. Now, when thinking about how these lines connect, specifically for vector drawings, it uses a system called anchor points and mathematical formulas to connect these points. That's why you get such straight lines as you're connecting, even if you're doing curves, and you can get such clean lines because it's not using pixels. It's solely mathematical formulas to connect these pre-existing points set across the screen. The more anchor points you have and the more edges you create and lines you create, the more detailed your form can become through this. If you want a simple silhouette, and like let's say you just wanted the character to be a solid black and have the background be white, you can outline the entire image with these anchor points and using the line tool to shape around, and that will allow you to fill it with one solid color gradient. However, The more areas you outline, the more shapes you create, such as the shirt, the arms, the head, the legs, the skateboard, even up to wrinkles in the clothes, shadows, fine details, you will be able to build a more dimensional piece rather than just a flat silhouette.